Are you new to off-roading or just want to try something scenic that also has the quintessential Moab experience? Gemini Bridges are two bridges located next to each other in a canyon near Moab, Utah. They are a popular destination because they are an incredible formation, and the road to get there just gives you just a little bit of adventure. What's even better is even if you're a non-off-roader, you can still get there in your car or short SUV. Really, this trail is a win-win for everyone. Now let's get to our story. Since we popped our tire on Elephant Hill and could not get a spare in Moab, we decided to try Gemini Bridges since it's a beginner trail and it's well traveled. Plus, we've done it before. The chance of us having an issue with our tire was low, but if we did, someone would be coming rather quickly on this trail since it's so popular. Gemini Bridges is accessible from Gemini Bridges Road, which is an entirely dirt road. To get here, you have two options, either Highway 191 or Route 313. And guess what? The Gemini Bridges formation is right in the middle of these two entry and exit points. The entire road itself, should you choose to do it, is about 13 miles long. If you're in a low clearance vehicle like a car or shorter SUV, it can be slow going to get there, but the one way you're going to want to do that is to come from the west side. Route 313, or the easy way, breaks off of Highway 191, leading to Dead Horse State Park and Canyonlands National Park. This will help you skirt around the rough off-roading portion that will lead you to Gemini Bridges. This dirt road section to Gemini Bridges is pretty flat and can be accessible by a car as long as you take it slow. And for our adventure today, we decided to start from the western entrance, which is typically not your normal off-roading entrance. The off-roading entrance typically starts at Highway 191, and this is the famous off-roading section of the trail, otherwise known as the Fun Way. As stated earlier, we have previously completed this trail in a 98 F-150, and so we knew our stock Colorado would be just fine. We will be taking the Fun Way out, so stay tuned. Now this adventure is very scenic and very easy if you start from this west side. Everett was super excited since he's never seen Gemini Bridges before. And of course, Everett always loves a good hike. The beginning of our drive was pretty uneventful, and before we knew it, we were already at the parking lot. The hike to the bridges is super easy and is pretty accessible even to novice hiker. The first section is the most difficult, with a few ledges to negotiate down. Once down from the main parking lot, you'll notice some green lines painted on the sandstone. These have been placed here so that you can follow them all the way to Gemini Bridges. Please, in this area, make sure to stay on the designated trail. A lot of this area is under revegetation, which means it's being managed actively to help with those desert plants to grow back better. This is something that the BLM does actively in a lot of different areas, so be mindful of where you step. As you can see that with like any Moab trail, the shade will be limited, so it is recommended if you do this in the summer, try to do it in the morning or early evening when the temperatures are lower. There is no water available along this trail, so you'll have to pack it all with you. After leaving the slick rock, you'll hike on a little sandy section before you enter more slick rock. But before you know it, you'll finally reach the end of the trail. Upon arrival, you'll be standing atop a little canyon. And we've made a little short hike to Gemini Bridges. As you can see down below, it's down there. The hard part we're standing on right now is actually undercut, but you can't tell that until you're on the other side. So we're gonna walk to the other side and we're gonna show you what we were standing on. See how undercut it is?
Oh well, I forgot it was even farther back.
I think it's probably had some recent falls.
We were standing on that, Everett.
Eventually that will go. What was the most amazing thing about this hike for us today? We had the bridges to ourselves. This is a very rare thing, and we cherished every moment of it. Now from the top, it's really hard to see the two bridges, but they're right next to each other, so if you have little kids, you're going to want to hold their hands so they don't fall down the hole. We spend some time here before returning to our truck to do the fun part of the trail back to Moab. This part of the trail, if you choose to do it, requires proper tire placement if you are in a lower clearance vehicle. And in all honesty, I was having the worst heartburn of my life during this section of the trail, so I didn't record any obstacles from the outside, so I'm sorry about that.
This is what I remember. See, I don't remember being that easy to come in.
As you can see, there are some very bumpy spots that will require proper tire placement if you're in a lower SUV. This trail has seen some deterioration over the years, so it would probably be better to have a vehicle with a little bit higher clearance. Sadly, if you can believe it, the moment I started feeling better, we ran into a different type of obstacle. A Moab running event. We know that events can happen on a lot of these trails, however, we didn't know that we had picked a trail that had a running event. This is the first time we've ever ran into an event actually in Moab on the day that this occurred. Apparently, it was the day for us to finally contend with something like this, a true obstacle. There were runners on the trail everywhere. As we passed group after group, we thought we might have passed them all as the trail went a little quieter and became more like the typical Gemini Bridges trail. But, of course, as we got closer to the switchback section that will take you down into the Moab Valley, there were even more runners. An important note about the Gemini Bridges area is it's popular.
It is popular.
Today you were usually dealing with bikes, but we're dealing with what?
Lots of
Runners.
Everywhere.
They're having a running
in the
event
middle
on
of
the road.
They can't hear you. They have ear pods in. It's great.
Or some are chatting.
Those are fine. They move
No.
out of the way. We can get.
No, it's the ones with the AirPods in. Those ones.
One of them's like zigzagging across the road. You can't go around. You can't hear you. Like we're doing 2 miles an hour. It's like, this sucks. I don't mind doing 7 or 8 or 10, but they don't seem to be able to run that fast.
No, they definitely can't run that fast.
Like 9's a comfortable speed right now.
It is. But just take note. The climb up this section to get to the switchbacks was pretty uneventful and there were no runners to be found. But as we crested the hill to get to the switchbacks, we soon found out that this section would be the worst. As we neared the top, we started to see runners again, and there kept being more and more as we kept getting closer. As we tried to navigate the switchbacks, which can be a little bit terrifying because if you come the way we did, you are on the outside. It can make it a little sketch when you're dealing with human beings that you don't want to even get too close to. There could be things that could possibly go wrong. It seemed very sketchy with this. As you can imagine, we had passing cars coming up the trail, runners running down the trail with us. It was just quite the mess. The cars were, of course, the easy part to avoid, but it was the runners who seemed oblivious to our presence at all. As you can imagine, this was very frustrating. We eventually made it down safely. No runners got hit. The truck did hit a rock rail or two because some of the runners almost fell into us. So we had to hit a few rock obstacles we would have avoided otherwise. But all in all, we made it down. Everything was fine. We were just slightly more annoyed than normal.